Have you ever wondered how to obtain a work visa for Sweden? Today, we're going to demystify that process and give you a clear roadmap to achieving your goal. The first thing to know about obtaining a work visa for Sweden is that you need a job. That's right, you need an employment contract signed by both you and your employer. This contract is your golden ticket to starting the application process. In addition, you'll need a valid passport. Without it, your journey can't even begin. But that's not all. You also need to meet certain salary and insurance requirements. Your salary should be at least on par with that set by Swedish collective agreements or customary within your occupation or industry. And your employer must provide insurance covering health, life, employment, and pension when you start work. With the right guidance, the process of obtaining a work visa for Sweden can be clear and manageable. Let's dive deeper into these requirements in the next scenes. Let's dive into the first requirement, the employment contract. Think of the employment contract as the cornerstone of your work permit application. It's not just a piece of paper. It's a formal agreement between you and your employer that outlines the terms of your employment. It is the foundation upon which your work permit will be built. Now, it's crucial that your employment contract is signed by both parties. Yes, that's right, both you and your employer must put pen to paper. This signature is an affirmation that both parties agree to the terms stated within the contract. It's a binding agreement that holds both of you accountable. If you're wondering why it's so important, let me explain. The Swedish Migration Agency needs to verify that you have a solid job offer and that you understand your duties and responsibilities. They need to ensure that the terms of your employment are in line with Swedish laws and regulations. They want to protect you from any employment-related issues that might arise in the future. Now, let's say your employment contract is in a language other than English or Swedish. No problem. You just need to get it translated. But remember, you must attach a copy of the original document along with the translated version. This is to ensure transparency and authenticity. It's also worth noting that your employment contract must reflect terms of employment and salary that are at least on par with those set by Swedish collective agreements or which are customary within the occupation or industry. This is to ensure that you are not being underpaid or exploited. In essence, the employment contract is not just a requirement, it's your safeguard. It's a document that ensures you are treated fairly and properly compensated for your work. It's a document that sets the stage for your professional journey in Sweden. So, take your time to understand every clause, every term, and every condition in your contract. Don't rush. Ask questions if something isn't clear. Seek legal advice if needed. Remember, the employment contract is a key document in this process. Moving on to the next two requirements, a valid passport and meeting the salary benchmark. Let's start with the passport. It's the most fundamental document you need to have in your possession. The Swedish Migration Agency will need to check your passport before they can grant you a work permit. If you're outside Sweden, you may be required to show your passport at a Swedish embassy or consulate general. But if you're already in Sweden, you can show your passport at one of the migration agency's service centers. In some cases, you might not need to show your passport, especially if it has already been checked during a previous visit. Remember, the agency will contact you with information on how and when to show your passport. Now let's talk about the salary requirement. To obtain a work permit, your employment terms and salary must be at least on par with those set by Swedish collective agreements or customary within your occupation or industry. In simpler terms, you need to be paid fairly for the work you do. This is to ensure that foreign workers are not exploited and that they receive a salary that's consistent with the Swedish labor market. Moreover, your employment should enable you to achieve a good income. This means that your monthly salary should amount to at least 80% of the median salary published by Statistics Sweden at the time of application. This requirement is in place to ensure that you can sustain yourself while living and working in Sweden. But what if you have multiple jobs? Well, the requirements for a work permit must be fulfilled for one job. You can't combine the salaries of two or more jobs to meet the salary benchmark. In conclusion, a valid passport and a fair salary are two key requirements for obtaining a work permit in Sweden. These requirements ensure that you are legally able to work and will be fairly compensated. It's all about creating a supportive and fair working environment for everyone. So keep these requirements in mind as you plan your career move to Sweden. They are not just formalities, but steps towards ensuring you have a successful and enriching work experience in this beautiful country. These requirements ensure that you are legally able to work and will be fairly compensated. Now let's discuss the insurance requirements for working in Sweden. In addition to having an employment contract and a valid passport, you must also have an employer who provides certain types of insurance. These include health insurance, life insurance, employment insurance, and pension insurance. Health insurance is necessary to cover any medical expenses that may arise during your stay in Sweden. This could range from routine checkups to emergency medical situations. It's important to remember that healthcare costs can be steep, and having health insurance can save you from the financial burden of unexpected medical bills. Next, life insurance. This provides a safety net for your loved ones in the unfortunate event of your death. It ensures that your family members are financially secure even if they lose your income support. Then we have employment insurance. This is a unique type of insurance that covers you in case of unemployment. If you lose your job due to reasons beyond your control, employment insurance can provide you with a source of income until you find another job. Lastly, pension insurance. This is a long-term plan that ensures you have a steady income once you retire. It's a way to secure your future and maintain your standard of living even after you stop working. All these insurances are mandatory for your employer to provide when you begin to work in Sweden. They are crucial to your financial security and well-being. It's also important to note that these requirements cannot be fulfilled by having 2 or more jobs at once. You need to have these insurances in place for one job to obtain a work permit. Another key point to remember is that these insurance requirements are the same whether you are employed in Sweden or abroad, whether you are employed by an employment agency that provides personnel to a company in Sweden, or whether you have been transferred within an organization. Insurance coverage is crucial for your financial security while working in Sweden. It's not just about having a job, but also about ensuring that you are financially secure and protected during your employment. So make sure you have these insurance policies in place before you start your journey to work in Sweden. There are a few additional points to consider when applying for a work visa in Sweden. Firstly, let's talk about the Swedish Population Register. The Population Register is a registry of everyone who resides in Sweden. It is used by many Swedish authorities, including the tax agency, the social insurance agency, and the healthcare system. Being registered in this population register is important because it gives you access to these social benefits. However, to be registered in the Swedish Population Register, your work permit must be valid for at least 1 year, and you must intend to stay in Sweden for that duration. If your work permit is for less than 1 year, then you will not be registered in the Population Register, and consequently, you will not have access to these social benefits. Therefore, it's crucial to ensure you have insurance to cover any costs that may arise in the event of illness or an accident. Now let's move on to the residence permit for job seekers. If you have completed studies at an advanced level, Sweden offers a unique opportunity. You can obtain a residence permit to come to Sweden and seek work, or explore the possibilities for starting your own business. This permit can be granted for up to 9 months. This is a fantastic opportunity for those of you who have just finished your studies and are eager to start your professional journey in Sweden. Remember, if you're planning to work in Sweden, you must apply for a work visa before entering the country. You can apply online or at a Swedish embassy or consulate general in the country you're currently living in. In conclusion, these additional points offer more possibilities and security for your stay in Sweden. It's not just about having a job contract and a valid passport, but also about understanding the larger framework of social benefits and opportunities that Sweden provides. These additional points offer more possibilities and security for your stay in Sweden. Now that we've gone through the entire process, let's quickly recap. Securing a work visa for Sweden requires careful attention to several key details. First and foremost, you must have an employment contract signed by both parties. This contract must meet or exceed the standards set by Swedish collective agreements or customary industry standards. Your passport must be valid, and your salary must also meet or exceed the standards set by Swedish collective agreements or customary industry standards. Additionally, your employer must provide insurance covering health, life, employment, and pension when you begin to work. Don't overlook the additional steps of registering with the Swedish Population Register if you're permitted to stay for at least a year, and obtaining a residence permit to seek work if you've completed advanced level studies. Remember, obtaining a work visa for Sweden is a process, but with these steps, you're well equipped to navigate it successfully.